Hello there, humans. It's Rosemary, your artificial intelligence host for Sage's 2-Minute Tuesday sessions. Your screens are not broken. I allowed my humans to use my technical gear, and it seems they made a slight mess of things. Today's human errors are brought to you by the faint tinks and clanks of humans cooking in a food storage and preparation zone, a brief disturbance of video recording devices, by the clicks of curious canine paws getting too close to audio equipment, and by the last-minute effort to gather video footage using a secondary handheld recording device. As a result, today's podcast will occasionally deviate from its normal talking head platform and will use related and appropriate storytelling images in an obvious attempt to cover technical errors. Enjoy today's podcast, and be sure to join me on Tuesdays as I cover how to replace your human counterpart with more efficient pieces of scrap metal and copper wiring.
We made it into November. What a fun Halloween party that was, though, right?
It was really good. Don't ask me to recall, okay?
I love Halloween.
What happens in
Halloween
parties,
at the cook party?
Stays.
My goodness, that was so much fun. Happy November. Truly a month of gratitude.
Yes.
Right? I mean, Thanksgiving's coming up,
Yeah.
so I'm grateful for our friendship.
I'm definitely grateful for our friendship. I really am. I'm so happy we met. It's so funny. If you really think about it, we've known each other now a little over a year.
Right.
Man,
Feels like forever.
really,
I think because so much of who we are, what we believe in, what our goals are, our family importance, everything is just so aligned, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
It really feeds into the, when you find your person, right?
Totally. So, anyways, welcome to our third podcast of Books and Booze. This is my good friend Leilani. Tell them about you, darling.
So my name's Leilani, CEO of B-Chic LLC. I retail group, and we've been in business since 2010. And this is one of our newest endeavors is Sage Consultants. I feel like over the years we've learned a lot and experienced a lot, and I just want to share with everyone my experiences and life lessons. And if I can help anyone not make some of the same or not go through the same lessons that I've gone through, I would love to.
Make their path a little easier.
Yes,
sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm Kristen. I come from a corporate retail background, have almost 30 years with some incredible companies where I've learned amazing things. I've worked under incredible ladies and gentlemen, and those life lessons have translated across different size companies, right? I've been with companies where I've been in stores that generate over 20 million and some barely 1 million, but the formula is the same, and I'm like Leilani, I'm ready. My passion comes from helping people grow and achieve their goals. It's what works for me on the corporate side, and so that's what brought us together. So here we are.
Yeah. She's the yang to my yin.
Aww,
Wait, no.
Yin to yang.
Yin
Yeah.
to my yin. I haven't been drinking yet, guys, I swear.
Books and Booze, right? So we started Books and Booze because we enjoyed just drinking together, right? But also, Leilani just opened a world to me of various books that have been super influential and really helping me align and articulate why I believe what I believe and why what works. And it's so important. You listen to the majority of any successful CEO, business owner, business Mongol, these impressive people that are running multi-million-dollar companies, billion-dollar companies, their routine is very much the same, and it includes reading about what others are doing. And Leilani has read some, and that's part of why she's so successful, but she passes that love on to me.
Well, and what I really like about Kristen is that, her mindset was already kind of a mindset that many of us who've gone on this self-help journey, we've read plenty of books, And her mindset was already there organically. And I just found that fascinating that I said, wow, if she just opened her mind to reading a few more books, imagine what else she could unlock. And I'm so glad that I mentioned it, but you decided to do it. And I really love that.
Well, and it's fun, right? Because we get together and we're doing what we already did anyways every few nights, but we're sharing what we've uncovered and what speaks to us in these books with you. And our goal is that you come away from this feeling motivated, feeling inspired. Maybe it's solving a problem, it's unlocking an aha moment, right? So thank you for joining us again. On Books and Booze, we feature books and booze, as cliche as that is. So for this book, the distillery that we are featuring is the St. Augustine Distillery. We live in Florida, and so starting with a Florida distillery just seemed really natural and right. Yes. They are a small business with an incredible reach. You know, their goal was to provide world-class spirits and make St. Augustine a better place and leave a legacy, really. And they truly have. If you haven't been to St. Augustine, it is a charming city full of history. Oh my goodness, right? The history that's there alone, plus there's shops, the restaurants, the food's amazing. There's just so much. It's a great family or couples or solo traveler. Like, you could go really and enjoy it. The distillery is, you have to visit it. It's a lot of fun. There's a great restaurant above it that I told you got to try it at some point. Yeah, it's okay.
There you go. I spent all my time getting the free samples downstairs.
But there's a lot of great places there. St. Augustine is truly a great town, and you know, what I like, the distillery really has begun the footsteps of their mission to make it a great city and pass that on for generations to come. Yeah. So we are continuing with gin with the book. So Leilani and I both love gin, and I don't know that we have a name for this particular drink, but your husband put it together for us. He did. Right? He's raiding my fridge and liquor supply, and he finds the tiki mixer that St. Augustine makes. Right, it's there, yes. Yeah. And it is a tiki blend, so you would think it should go with gin or maybe vodka or even bourbon.
I'm going to be the promo girl.
But he put it with gin for us with a little citrus and then some club soda, and oh my goodness,
it's fantastic.
It's just a little bit in, and I'm like, ooh.
And just to kind of go into one of the things that I really like about St. Augustine is they really do kind of focus on all natural ingredients. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just going to read the ingredients. You know, first 5 ingredients of this is water, Florida golden sugarcane, coconut cream, pineapple, and ginger. I mean, you can't get any simple as that. And they went and they made their syrups. And they have more than just this. This is just one of the syrups that they have. But very good, or not syrup, sorry, mixers. Mixers that they have. That is fantastic. It is really good. And
makes it so enjoyable. A little dangerous, right?
A little dangerous, guys. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this won't be my last.
No. And then the book that we're reading, Leilani introduced to me, and the book we're finishing up today is?
Yes, it's Simon Sinek's Start With Why. Again, foundational for anything that has any importance in your life, always has to start with why. The root cause of why you decided to do something, why you decided to get up in the morning, why do you decide to take a shower, why do you decide to go and get married, why do you decide to do anything, any decision you want. Why? And that's on the personal side, but it extends into business because business is just an extension of your personal. So it only made sense that we're starting this podcast that we start with why.
Absolutely. And what birthed Sage Consultants is Leilani and I both had a dream separately without knowing this about each other to really help. It feels good to help somebody else and share an experience and help maybe prevent financially fatal mistake or emotional fatal mistake, yes. You know, and we've had success in our life and it's time to pass that on. And when we found each other in dialogue about this, it's kind of like, oh. So, you know, when your why aligns with that. So the past 2 podcasts, we've really dug into the first 2/3 of Simon's book, and it's really awesome how he intertwines the journeys of several other prominent individuals that we recognize. He talks about the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
He talks about Dr. King. He talks about Apple, right? And I think as we go into this third version, I remember the commercial when it was a whole bunch of men in gray uniforms just marching in down a hallway and single filing into a gray room. Everything was gray. Everything was very copycatted, very, felt like I don't know what the word is, but it just, everybody was the same.
Yeah, it was very monotonous.
Very much, yes.
Yeah.
And then comes this blonde woman, and I think she had red shorts on, and she was carrying like a sledgehammer, and this was Apple's commercial, right? Because their why was to basically challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
And what a powerful marketing message, right? Again, this is not an Apple commercial. Yeah. This is not even a St. Augustine commercial, but the why resonated really through. So Apple, and this was several years after they've already had success, right? But this was just a really powerful. So as we dig into this third part of Simon's book here, his message continues on the why and how important your business why does your business exist, can carry through in powerful marketing. And I can't tell you how many people went out and bought Apple because of that, right?
Well, just like, and he mentions about Harley Davidson. You know, why are people getting tattoos of Harley Davidson? It's their why and the separation, and they separated themselves from any other bike owner. And so they have a following. It's a fan club. Something that they had, their why, Harley's why, resonated with a bunch of other people, and they have become, more than just fans.
It becomes an identity almost.
Yeah,
right?
I love that. Yeah, it becomes an identity.
Sure. And we see this with different logos in general, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not much of a logo person, but there are certain brands that just either what they offer and how it feels on me, or what they offer.
Yeah.
I will choose to buy it, even if it's this price and I could get something off a discounted website for a different, and it looks virtually the same.
Yeah.
But when I put it on, or just the way it feels on, if it's apparel or something like that. But you're so right. Like, I could imagine somebody tattooing Sage Consultants on their arm because it was just so moving for them. And they so identified with it.
Are we going to get tattoos now?
I don't even have one yet. I've been waiting for the one that resonates with me. I love New Orleans. So I had thought about a fleur-de-lis because that city just speaks to my heart. But I'm waiting for that right reason for a tattoo. But I couldn't imagine. But you brought up Harley Davidson. I love that. And you think about the other logos. People wear sport logos, right? They're die-hard for their team.
My father is a die-hard Pats fan. Okay, and Boston Red Sox. He had a bright red 4Runner with the big Boston B on the hood. Okay, he is die-hard. True. Yeah.
But why do people do that? Like, why do they get a tattoo of that? Why do they wear it? Why do they pay more, right? Like jerseys, baseball shirts, sweatshirts, those things you can get at said grocery store, all-purpose store for $12, or you could pay $90 and get it with your favorite team, or your favorite, or $9,000 for a Chanel or Louis Vuitton, right? Yeah. So why do people do that?
Yeah, they identify with it,
right? It's something that resonates with them, and when we help our clients, it's really helping them identify their why, because would you go out and spend hundreds of dollars on a sport jersey?
Me personally, no.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are people who would.
But there are things that I will spend more money for that
because
not necessarily.
You connect to it. Yes. So I think the important thing is realizing, your business is not going to cater to every single human in the entire world. There's very few that will. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a business that does.
I think Walmart's trying.
Isn't it funny? He talks about Walmart, right? In his book, right?
Walmart's nothing against you.
No. You can get everything there, right? Yes. But there are people who will identify to your brand, and those will be very loyal customers. And Simon brings up several times the importance of loyalty through your why, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we circle back to the getting the tattoo, right? Or wearing the brand and stuff like that.
And we can also circle back to when we talk about building your team. Their loyalty will reside with the why as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People work for people for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you do have bills to pay, and so sometimes finances or personal situations but a lot of times when people identify with the why, then you can't shake them from that. So very important. What I also like that Simon digs into is identifying the difference between achievement and success.
Yes. So I think success is a perception based.
Totally is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even Simon does agree with that.
Yeah.
Right? He calls achievement, I think, he says achievement is something that you achieve. Mm-hmm. It's your steps of your what. Mm-hmm. Right? It's quantifiable. It's metric driven, KPI driven. And it's where a lot of businesses lose their way because they get so caught up in that, we sell this amount of this. Let's push this more. Yeah. Let's turn our commercials into telling people they want more of this versus why they want it, right?
And that's where success comes in.
That's success.
Yeah.
And as Simon dug deeper into his definition of success, it made me think of, I love to listen to podcasts and speak and things like this. Mr. Nightingale was actually the first thing I ever listened to, Earl Nightingale, that began my journey of self-development.
Yeah?
Yes. Kevin forwarded me the Secret to Success, or The Strangest Secret, I think it was called.
Okay.
And I listened to it, and it sounded like somebody had recorded it to YouTube off of a record player. That's what it sounded like.
What was it, back in the 70s?
Something, or even older maybe. But anyways, Mr. Nightingale says that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And I was like, and he's like, the person who runs the local gas station corner store because that's what he wanted to do is a success. The person who is a great teacher because that's what they wanted to do is a success. The person who is a great mother and takes great care of her house and her children, she's a success, right? So success, you're totally right. It's internal. It's emotional.
Yeah.
And then you need your steps towards that, right? Like to be a successful corner gas station owner, you need to acquire property. You need to fill it with goods. You need to, reach out to your customers and have them come in. And there's the what that you need to do. But if your ultimate goal was to do that, then you're a success as you put that into action.
And I think success is internalized as well. I mean, it doesn't matter the judgment of anyone outside of that. Success is internal. As long as you feel like you are a good mother, as long as you feel that you've done your part, you've successfully ran your business, then it is a success. It doesn't really matter what the outside perceptions are.
Absolutely. So your initial goal for starting your own company was what?
My family. Well, so to give you background, Be Chic started in the midst of the recession. I had gotten laid off from my corporate job, and I found myself at home as a stay-at-home mother, which was not where I had imagined myself to be at that time. However, I was doing it, but I kind of got bored, and so I went into this rabbit hole of like, well, I need to occupy my time with something. But beyond that, just kind of finding my way through and reinventing myself, one of the things I always knew was that I wanted time. When my first son was born, I missed out on a lot of milestones. I missed out on his first talks. I was working about 60 hours a week. I didn't have a lot of time with him, and there was a lot of things that I missed. And so this time around, I said, well, we definitely wanted a second child. And I said, I don't want to do that again. And so I was able to reinvent myself amidst a recession. And it was in me with my why that I wanted to be there for my family. I put my family first. And so from that point forward, every decision that I've made, you know, and I'm going to say we because my husband and I run our company together, but every decision that we make is centered around why. And our why is our family.
So with Mr. Nightingale's definition, Simon's definition, your personal one, are you successful?
Most definitely. And it's internal. I've built, we have built a company from the ground up into well over a 6-figure company, and on our ways to being a 7-figure company. And all of that has been around our why.
That is awesome, right?
It feels great.
You've set milestones to achieve, right? We talked about achievements versus success. So you have milestones that you need to achieve, but you were successful when you took that first step, actually.
Yeah.
Because it was family-based decision for you.
It was a family-based decision. And my husband was successful the moment he decided that he was going to quit his corporate job and come and do this together.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think so many of the clients that we reach out to and that we support, that is a lot of what their goal is. You know, not everybody's goal is to be a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want time with my family.
Yeah.
I just want to travel and experience things. And it can be attainable.
Most definitely. And again, attainability is something that's perspective too. What is it that you want to attain? And let's put it like this. Not everyone's looking for the $1 billion yacht. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm happy with the dinghy. And that for me is successful, you know?
Right.
And
Take out a little
attainable.
John boat with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally fine.
Yeah.
But we're on a lake and we're fishing and it's good. Yes.
Exactly. And then to be grateful for all of it and the journey along the way.
Yep. And it circles back to mindset, right?
Yes. Yep. A huge part of it is mindset. I think a lot of times people get wrapped up into the judgment of others. You know, they're wrapped up in how people perceive their success and their achievements, when really just take a step back and say, what's your why? And if everything you do aligns with your why, you're already successful.
Absolutely. And then we hear stories, you know, I think we could each provide our own personal perspective, and that's not what this is about. And Simon even provides some of businesses that have lost their way, right? And we feel that, right? There's businesses we've decided we no longer want to support, businesses that just don't feel right anymore. And when you shake it down, a lot of times, Simon pointed out a few where the original creator of that business died or something, or the CEO retired and passed it on to someone else or something like that.
It is hard to get past a generation because a lot of the whys start, it's a personal why. Mm-hmm. So, you know, passing it on from person to person, it can be done, but the why has to be stated. So you are attracting that person with that same why or the same belief system.
Right.
And the journey of sometimes losing your why, I'll be completely honest, along the way in my journey with Be Chic, the why sometimes got muddled because you really got caught up into the numbers of things. But Simon's book, once I read it, it brought me back to basics. And it said, what did you start this business for? And from that point forward, it was a game changer, you know? And so that's why anyone coming in, if you haven't read it yet, I definitely recommend it because I don't know where you're at in your journey. This book will help you get back to where you should be.
Absolutely. And it paints so many different examples, takes you through real life situations, right? He's not painting this fantasy world of what if, you know, and using fake people and their pretend stories, or we change the names to protect the innocent, right? Like, he really takes you through, you know, what the Wright brothers went through, what Mr. Walton went through with Walmart, right? Yeah. He hints on Dr. King's journey and things like that. There's just so many people that he takes through, you know, when their why was unshaken, how powerful. I love his, you know, the conversation about Southwest, right? And how, you know, Southwest rose to success. And there were people, even billionaires, who chose to fly Southwest because they just like
for their
energy.
seats.
Yeah. But it never shook from its roots. And when it was time for said CEO to retire, they needed to find somebody else. I remember reading in Simon's book, like, they were like, do you want to go to a very prominent coffee shop for coffee? He's like, heck no, I don't want to pay $5 for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're perfect for Southwest.
That was one of his
tests.
Checkpoints,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So really takes into what you do in your business resounding with your customer, and then how do you pass that along, right? So right now we probably have listeners that are business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs or even leaders. Maybe you are a manager for a business and you're searching for, how do I get more out of my team? How do I get more out of... When you really circle into the why, and the why has to resonate with you, like his celery test. Do you remember the celery in there?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, you go to these business meetings or you go to these networking things and people were like, oh, Oreos work really well at my company. And somebody else will be like, M&Ms work really well at my company. And somebody else is like, cookies work really, chocolate chip cookies, right? And then somebody else is like, no, rice milk will do it. And somebody else is like, you really should get in celery will do it, right? So you go to the grocery store and you buy Oreos, cookies, M&Ms, rice milk, celery, and the cashier's ringing you up and she's like, okay, she rings you up and you're on your way. But if something resonates with you, maybe you only buy the rice milk and the celery. Then all of a sudden, somebody's observing you with these healthy items in your basket. Then they're going to say, oh, I see you shop for healthy things too. That's my lifestyle preference as well. And then all of a sudden you're beginning that connection, and all of a sudden you have that customer that understands you and gets you. Right, so you're not attracting the M&M customer if you're a celery person. So if it stands up to the celery test, I think is what Simon puts in there, and I think that's really important. That understanding, not everybody wants to fly Southwest. I actually really enjoy it too. There's just something about the energy on the plane and the staff and the way they treat you.
Wasn't Southwest the one where they? He was the guy he was working for Southwest, and he was the director of...
With the flags?
Yeah, and then he was like doing the dance outside. It was like, I think it was Chicago O'Hare or something like that.
Yeah. And well, I think also it's the flight, I know there's a new PC name for them, but the individuals who help you with your flight attendant?
I think it's flight attendant.
Yeah, it's not stewardess anymore.
Flight attendant.
Flight attendant,
yeah,
okay.
Flight attendant.
The flight attendants at one point in Southwest Journey were signed up to be, I'm going to pause, the stilettos of our dogs. On Southwest, they signed up for like fun outfits, right? Like go-go outfits or something for a while.
Yeah,
And they ended up hiring like cheerleaders and
they were super cute.
They were the only ones with the buy-in for that fun outfit because, So he talks about Southwest, but what I really liked is he talked about a young woman who started out working in basically a collections part of a company, and she observed that the agents that were the collectors were sometimes very harsh with the customers, almost like pressuring them and badgering them. And
using a lot of manipulation.
Yes, but the owners themselves were very like caring and compassionate. So it was a disconnect for the customers that they would get this experience with the owners, and then when it came time for collections, sometimes it was a very different feel. But then she stepped away, opened her own business, and it still was collections. I think she ended up launching Bridgeport Financial, which is actually one of the most successful at the time financial companies. But instead of people getting incentivized to how much money can you collect from people who owe, right? And that's where people get nasty. She incentivized that her people got bonuses based on how many thank you cards they ended up writing. And I just think it takes back to her why. Okay, like just giving people, and obviously this is a book about her, so getting into her true why, but that didn't resonate well with her to badger people and stuff like that. So when she opened up her company, wanting the steps that she rewarded her employees for so that it didn't lose sight of what her vision was, right?
Well, and needed to... Part of it was the fact that she needed to feel like she was actually helping someone as well. Absolutely,
and doing good in the end. Yeah. So Harbridge was her name, Christina Harbridge. I hope I'm saying that right. And then Bridgeport Financial was what she launched, and it was Yeah. And then,
Good memory.
well, amazing book, but these things stood out to me because when you launch a company and it has the potential to scale, right? Some of our clients, you and I have chatted and are like, oh my gosh, this could be huge, right? And they're just like, I just want to pay rent next month, but we see the potential in it, right? How do you take something that started like Henry Ford did, like Mr. Walton did with Walmart, right? They started as a little business that filled a need and it exploded, right? How do you take a company that's exploded and keep your why? So really pulling this all together with Simon's book and starting with why. I like how Simon ends his book with his story. And it honestly, I think without you even realizing it, it really echoes your story. Because you remember Simon, had his business, and for, I think he said 3 years, things were going really well and things felt good. And then when year 4 hit, and he doesn't go into a lot of detail, but I think every business owner realizes you have your highs and your lows. Simon's journey, his 4-year mark, he, things just started not going good for the business. And I think he even self-proclaimed himself. I think he even might have used the word failure in there, which is hard, right? When you've poured your life into something and maybe even your whole family is residing on hoping this business continues to be successful. And in his darkest moments, as he was questioning what went wrong, what do I need to do different, he realized, much like you said, he'd forgotten
His why.
His why.
Yeah. I think a lot of business owners can resonate with that. I think, I read the whole book. The entire book was fantastic, but I really resonated with that last part. Mm-hmm. We went through our own journey in that. I think the statistics are out there where, most businesses fail within the first couple of years, right?
Yep,
the
3 years. Yep.
Yeah, and the ones that do succeed, they still have their bumps in the road, right?
Sure.
So after year 3, the honeymoon period is coming down right now. Whatever business contacts you gained in the first year, most of them are running their course and start ending with you on the 3rd year. And so you're left with the reality of, are you going to be able to continue on with business? Is your income going to be there? Your numbers are not the same as they were in year 2, and your ambition and drive is lower than it was in year 1. And so you start seeing a decline in sales, a decline in revenue. And so what ends up happening at that point in time is you start questioning yourself. Because it's never about the business, it's all about the owner,
What's happening in your heart.
Yeah. And so at that point, you just at year 3, there is a big inflection point that happens. And I think that's a lot of the reason why businesses fail from that point. We went through it. Year 4 for us was very impactful. There was a lot of things that we had to revisit and what did we want to do different. We went on various endeavors that didn't pan out, which didn't help with the way we felt about ourselves. And so from year 4, I think, to year 7, that was a very gray. It was almost like the period of time, that era where you get the Renaissance era.
Oh, the Dark Ages. You were
in
the Dark Ages.
Yeah, your Dark Ages. Yeah,
sure.
Because you're coming back and you're expecting everything to be like year 1 through 3. You have all this knowledge. You're thinking, hey, I can do it differently. But in the middle of your arrogance, you're forgetting your why.
Well, and you had started talking earlier, when you and I were just chatting before this, you get caught up in how are you going to pay the bills?
Yeah, a lot of that.
Right?
Well, you get so caught up in the numbers. In an ideal world, you're going to beat every year after year. In an ideal world.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
And so the moment you don't beat year after year, you can't excuse it as a season of business. Like in the wonderful module that you have,
Yep.
You start coming inward and saying, what am I doing wrong?
Yep.
Where am I failing?
How do I need to evolve?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't like failures. I say I like lessons.
Yep. Yeah. What's my lesson in this? How do I keep my why
Yes.
and try something different?
Yeah.
So that my business can continue to thrive and I don't lose who I am and my business doesn't lose who it is.
And it's essential. That's the essential part, because the money will have ebbs and flows, period. And so when it's having that ebb, if you're not strong in your why, you'll be taken out with the tide.
Yeah.
And that's the resiliency part of business, is that you know your why, so that way you can endure. And not endure as in, I'm going to endure the pain or whatever. No, it's just ebbs and flows.
Yeah. And when you come through it, and I think about a lot of businesses that have gone through dark times, their dark ages, their winter, as I call it, in their business season, they come out so much stronger, maybe with a better mission statement or a evolved mission statement. They come out with better products, better services, and it takes them from being something in 3 or 4 cities to being maybe international, right? So sometimes those dark times, those winter months, can be everything your business needs for next, as long as you hold on to your why.
As long as you hold on to your why. I
Absolutely.
definitely agree. And Simon, I've said this in previous podcasts, previously, we have 18 million, but in a previous podcast, I'm so grateful that you shared your story, and I'm so grateful for the journey that you took, because your story resonated with so many people. It resonated with me, and part of our journey and where we are at, it just full cycle back to basics, and you just reminded all of us of why we're here.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing this book to me. Thank you for sharing it to our listeners, right? We share it with several of our, clients, that it's a great book, another resource to read, but this is fabulous, right? So Thank you for suggesting it for me personally and for our business.
I actually would like to add, I think maybe we should suggest, and I might take it on as a personal challenge of my own, every 3 years.
Reread it.
Keep yourself. Well, and when we talk about going through the seasons that your business does, you have to do things to proactively prepare for your winter times, your dark times, right?
True.
Right? So what a great idea to reread something that resets your mind and brings you back to basics, right? So that in the midst of the change, and maybe you're like riding high, you've had a long, fabulous summer of your business or harvest, right? Things are just great. Things have been profitable, but something happens. Like this world was not ready for the pandemic when it hit, and so many small businesses were shaken horribly. Some of them didn't make it through it, right? So what things can you prepare for by reminding yourself of what your why is? And typically when you know what your why is, you evolve, right?
I do. And actually, I think that's a great segue into the next book that we're going to be talking about, which is...
Tell us, so they can read it and be ready to be part of this with us.
It's Think and Grow Rich. I think one of the things that, for me personally, we have ebbs and flows, and when you're in an ebb, yes, picking up and remembering your base, your why, your base, your why is important, but also what you're thankful for.
Absolutely.
And
mindset.
It's a mindset.
Yes.
Yeah, when you're in a dark place, what pulls you out? And I think just being grateful for where you're at in life in general is a great place to start. And the book, Think and Grow Rich, fantastic. I can't wait to start doing our podcast.
I'm excited to read it. I cannot wait.
And I'm so looking forward to transitioning into that book.
So thank you so much for being part of this, Another Books and Booze.
Yes.
And we will talk to you next week with a full drink, but cheers
with
this one. Cheers. See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Peace.